Hello and welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar. I hope you are all in good spirits today. We are going to talk about civil services in this particular discussion. Today is April 21st, Civil Services Day. So, on this occasion, we'll talk about civil services reforms. In general, we'll talk about the importance of civil services. What are the issues that are plaguing civil services in India? Broad issues. And then we will talk about some reforms. The latest of those reforms is Mission Karmayogi. So we are going to talk about Mission Karmayogi here. What are the 6 pillars of Mission Karmayogi? And at the end of the discussion, we'll also talk about what kind of other reforms are needed in civil services in India. So that would be the agenda in our discussion. Civil services and civil services reforms to mark Civil Services Day. To get all this information, be with me on StudyIQ. And remember, since today is Civil Services Day, we are running a flash sale. Our motto is Har Ghar IAS. That is why our flagship UPSC Civil Services program for Prelims and Mains, we are giving it on 50% discount. Normally it comes for 20k, but today and tomorrow, remember 21st April and 22nd April, only for 2 days, we are giving this particular offer of a flash sale where 50% off just for 9,999, you will get our flagship UPSC Civil Services course. Plus, you'll also get double validity. All you have to do is use the coupon code Rahul Flash, RAHUL Flash, without any spaces. In this particular program, we have the GS Foundation course for prelims as well as mains, and after mains, we are also going to provide you the guidance for personality test. Please remember, we are also running SIP program, Success in Prelims, which will enhance your chances of clearing prelims. We'll have weekly doubt sessions. You'll connect with me, where you'll connect with us. We'll be clearing all your doubts regarding your preparation. So we will be hand holding you through your journey for your preparation of UPSC Civil Services Examination. Do avail this particular flash sale just for 2 days, 48 hours. Right, let's begin our discussion with the observation. As I told you, 21st April is a Civil Services Day, and it is celebrated as National Civil Services Day since 2006. On this day, the government people applaud the civil servants of India who have been working tirelessly to run the administrative machinery of a country. On this day, the government, that is the Prime Minister of India, he gives away awards for best performing civil servants also. Now, we all know civil services is considered as a steel frame or the backbone of Indian administration. They play a very important role right from the beginning. Although policy formulation, policy inputs are given, their main job is policy implementation. I would say they are the ones who are running the administration of this particular country. And since we are a welfare state, I can directly say that civil servants or civil services are responsible for welfare in our country ultimately. So they have a very, very important job. Now, despite this importance, there are some issues also that plague the civil services. So we are going to focus today on issues that the civil servants face, or some of the question marks over the performance of civil services in India. And we'll also talk about the latest reform initiative that has been brought, that is Mission Karmayogi, for capacity building of civil servants. We are going to see the 6 pillars of Mission Karmayogi, what is the intention of Mission Karmayogi, and eventually at the end of the discussion, we are also going to give some inputs regarding what other reforms are needed. Right, let's first jump in and talk about the issues of civil services in India. I'll start up with the last one. Since we have listed 6 problems of civil service here, the first and the biggest problem, that has been put here, 6th number, corruption and lack of accountability. Now, I told you civil services are considered a backbone of Indian administrative setup. But with civil services comes great responsibility. They have a lot of discretion and they have huge amount of funds at their disposal. Right? Discretion plus lack of accountability, it creates the problem of corruption. And we have seen these problems right from before. Now, right from the modern administration, if you talk about Kautilya's Arthashastra, even Kautilya talks about the problems of corruption in administration. Now, he says that civil servants are like people on whose tongue there is honey, and you cannot expect them not to taste that honey, because there is a lot of money, there is a lot of discretion available. So, and there is less accountability. So all these create problems of corruption. Now, this is one of the biggest problem, although there have been many steps which have been taken to curb corruption. But even till today, we can say to a large extent, yes, problems of lack of accountability and huge discretion, these create problems of corruption in our country. So that's one of the issues. That is why Mission Karmayogi aims for capacity building of civil services so that they are upright, they are honest, and they work with integrity. What are the other problems? See, broadly, the biggest problem is the colonial attitude of civil services. Why? Because we inherited the civil services from British. It was the imperial civil services before. The imperial administrative service, imperial police service. After independence, we continue the same. IAS and IPS, Sardar Patel was the chief proponent of the supporter of all India services. We had IAS, IPS, then we created IFS also. And there are other civil services also. What was the attitude of civil servants in the British tenure? They used to consider themselves higher. They used to consider themselves elite. They are above the people. And even after independence, to certain degree, colonial attitude has been a problem. If you talk about different surveys, different reports, they clearly highlight that there is a disconnect between the IAS, IPS or the civil services and the public. There is a general gap between the two. Why? It comes with the colonial attitude. Now, you can argue, sir, it has been 75 years and that colonial attitude is not there. That the same colonial attitude, although we can say even if it is not there, it has creeped into something else. It has become something else. It has led to the status quoism among the civil services. As I told you, they had power. They wield enormous amount of power, large discretion. They have huge funds of the exchequer. That is why they consider themselves elite than the people. There is a gap. But even if that gap is slowly and steadily reducing, they are status quoist. They have status quoist mentality. I can give you an example of this. See, our constitution came in 1950. Constitution Article 40 says organize the panchayats, Panchayati Raj institutions, right? When did we bring Panchayati Raj institutions in India? Eventually in 1992. Why so late? The question arises, why so late? Again, I can give you the answer to this is the status quoist mentality of the politicians, the status quoist mentality of the bureaucracy as well. There is a nexus of bureaucracy and politicians who want to wield that power, and that is why status quoist mentality, it becomes another problem. Again, Mission Karmayogi works to reduce this also, to eliminate this problem so that the disconnect between people and civil services reduces. Apart from that, there's one more problem. Civil servants are criticized for being rulebook bureaucrats who lack innovation. And this has been seen. There are multiple reasons for this, right? Because there is no motivation for working. There's no motivation for innovation. Once you enter into civil services, you cannot be removed. Again, technically, they can be dismissed, but by the President of India. That means they have job security. There is promotion, timely promotion. With your years of service, you get promotion. So where is the motivation to work? Where is the motivation for innovation? They simply follow the rule book and seldom have any sort of innovation, which creates problems of administration. Apart from that, there is a big problem of political interference in bureaucracy. Now we have seen this. Politicians interfering in day-to-day activities, day-to-day work of bureaucrats. The problems of posting, problems of arbitrary transfer, all these things have been seen. The classic example of IAS officer Ashok Khemka, more than 50 times he has been transferred during his service of 25 odd years. Right? That means every 6 months he has been transferred. Just an example, political interference in the bureaucracy. There is one more criticism that the bureaucrats or civil servants in India are generalists rather than specialists. Now, this is a classic debate which goes on. Do civil services need some sort of specialization? Because in 21st century, there is some need of specialization. Although generalist approach is needed because they work with diverse people, they work with different communities, different kind of people in different environments, different scenarios. So generalism is needed, but is complete generalism needed or some sort of specialization is also needed? That's the question, and that's some sort of criticism that is garnered towards civil services. I'll give you an example to make you understand. Let's talk about the current governor of RBI. Who's the current governor of RBI? Shaktikanta Das. I remember when he was appointed, there were many fingers that were pointed towards this appointment. Earlier, the RBI governors, they had huge background from finance and lateral entry used to happen for RBI. But when Shaktikanta Das was appointed, many people pointed out that his background was rather history, right? He had done BA Honours History, MA History, right? Then eventually he got into the government. He worked with the fertilizer sector. He worked in fertilizer sector. He worked immensely in the finance department also. He was secretary with finance. He was a member of finance commission also. Yes, he gained that expertise continuously. He gained that specialization and eventually became the RBI governor. That is the bone of contention here. Now, generalists starting from history background, achieving that specialization eventually. So why can't we start that specialization right from the beginning? That is the argument. That is also criticism. Again, I would say this is rather than a criticism, this is a general debate over the competency of civil services in India. So these are some of the problems, broad problems I'm talking about. We can dissect each and every problem and talk about more and more issues. But these are broadly the issues that are going on with civil service in India. And what the government says, government has brought Mission Karmayogi recently. What the government talks about, it says there is a need of reform. Again, the government acknowledges civil servants play a very vital role in policy formulating and policy implementation. However, capacity building of civil servants is needed. Government highlights there is a problem with respect to training. There is issue of stereotyping. They work in silos or compartments. There is seldom any sort of coordination or convergence. Civil servants, once they enter into service, there is no motivation to work. There is no innovation. There has to be continuous learning. There are some barriers to exchange of knowledge which is happening, and all these things have to be rectified. And that is why the government has eventually brought the Mission Karmayogi. Now, Mission Karmayogi aims to rectify most of the issues or most of the broad issues that we discussed. It has 6 pillars. First pillar is a framework for new training policies which will focus on continuous learning so that civil servants keep up with the time. As I told you, if we talk about civil services 20 years back, right? 20 or 30 years back, did they use any sort of computers? No. Everything was through paper and pen. But slowly and steadily, technology has been brought, and civil servants have to be trained in that. There is always an inertia in people, inertia to change. Something new is happening, people do not want to learn, and that is why policy framework of continuous training has come. There is a competency framework where the focus of the civil servants would be shifted from rule to role. As I told you, they are criticized to be rule book bureaucrats, but now the government wants them to understand the role. Apart from that, there would be an oversight by Prime Minister's HR Council. There is Karmayogi large-scale comprehensive learning platform which will be created for the civil servants. There will also be HR management. This is very important. This is something which is very important. As I told you, performance evaluation of civil services is needed. I told one of the biggest problem is that lack of innovation or no motivation for bringing change. See, a civil servant, once he has entered into the services, one civil servant does not do any work but still gets promotion. The other civil servant, he works tirelessly for welfare of people. He is also getting promotion at a very similar time. He is not getting any extra perks. The other person who's not working, right, who's going through that lethargy throughout his career, he is also getting promoted. He is also getting all the basic perks, all the promotions, etc. The other person who's working tirelessly, there's no incentive for them. So HR management has also been suggested under this Mission Karmayogi, and ultimately the performance analysis would be done through real time goal setting. Some sort of performance based incentive would be provided for civil services. So all these reforms have been brought by Mission Karmayogi by the government, which ultimately aim to create a civil servant who is transparent and tech enabled. As I told you, we are living in the age of technology. We want tech enabled civil servants. So continuous training is required, who are creative and constructive, who do not fear from change, who do not talk about status quoism, who are imaginative and innovative, who are proactive and polite, who are professional, progressive, and who are energetic and enabling. So this is the intention of Mission Karmayogi, a very good initiative for capacity building of civil servants. But we need to understand reforms are needed. Holistic reforms are needed. Mission Karmayogi, it basically tries to rectify the issues that are coming after the recruitment. Please remember, civil services starts from the point of recruitment, right? From the point of, say, I can give example of UPSC or state PSC examination. Recruitment is the starting point. The question has to be raised, do we need any sort of reforms in recruitment? Is there any problem right now with the UPSC Civil Services Examination? Do we need change in examination? How to filter out good candidates, good civil servants? So we need holistic reforms right from recruitment and then to training. Right now, the government through Mission Karmayogi, it talks about continuous training, performance evaluation, and good governance, because I told you they want these kind of civil servants. So the issue has to be rectified right from the root. The problem is, if you at the starting point, if you recruit bad candidates, no matter how much you train, no matter how much you evaluate their performance, will they bring a change? That is the question. So when the reforms are brought, reforms have to be brought from point zero and going up. Right now, Mission Karmayogi, it aims to bring a change after the training phase, but changes are also needed from the root. That is the idea, and there are many ideas for recruitment reforms. There are many committees which have suggested different ideas, reducing the age of recruitment, bringing changes in the exam pattern, so many things. So reforms have to come right from beginning, not exactly after the recruitment, after the initial training begins. But nonetheless, Mission Karmayogi, it aims to rectify many of the problems that we discussed, especially with respect to the attitude or with respect to working of civil servants. Let us hope this program brings a change and ultimately civil servants bring welfare to our nation. With that note, let me end this discussion on the Civil Services Day. Thank you for watching this. Jai Hind.